So welcome to Module 5. I'm really excited to go through this process and talk to you about planning your brand. What I wanted to do is I wanted you to take a minute and think about your product and some of the things that you've learned when it came to this process already. Now, since you've got your product, you've been able to figure out exactly what you want your product to look like. Let's talk about your brand. We're going to cover things here like your brand attitude and your company look. In the next module, we're going to cover everything you need to know about building your website. Right now, we're going to talk about everything you need to know when it comes to building your brand. Now, let's talk about what makes you stand out. When it comes to your business, what are some of the things that people might think about, or what are some of the things that will help customers understand exactly what your brand is all about? We're going to talk about your brand culture, or what I would consider your brand attitude. What are some of the pieces that are going to help your customer understand exactly what your business is all about? Now, to start this process, let's talk about your customer experience first. Have you thought about some of the things that's really going to help your customer when it comes to buying your product or shopping on your website? Maybe you need to consider some of the things when it comes to your pre purchase or your post purchase when it really comes to engaging with your customer. Now, to bring this a step further, your style is going to be a big impact in really what happens when it comes to your brand attitude. What are some of the colors and different things that really help your brand stand out or make it recognized when it comes to your business? Now, one of the biggest shortfalls when it comes to building a business is people don't really think about the support they need to give their customers right away when they start their business. So that's going to be things like calling you, chatting with you, emailing you, and even communicating with you through these different avenues. Now, making a plan or creating an automated setup for this in the beginning is going to be so helpful when it comes to being able to communicate with your customers to be able to get them to the purchase phase on your website. Now, let's talk about some of the things that you're going to implement when it comes to the experience that a customer is going to have on your website. You want to look at a lot of data that you can as you grow your business, but starting off, you really don't have a lot of information to work on. So, really creating a good customer experience and being able to talk about that brand culture or that brand attitude in the beginning of starting your business is going to be so valuable when it comes to really engaging your customers and having them purchase from you in the future. Now, how are you going to do that efficiently? There's a lot of different ways that you can be able to create some of the pieces of this puzzle. Let me give you some of the places you can go to be able to start the process of creating your brand culture. Now, let's look at how to build your brand style. These are just some of the things that you're going to need to look at when it comes to building your brand. Now, that's things like your logo, your color scheme. I've attached a couple blog posts here to really help you think about some of the processes when it comes to building your brand and also building a really good color scheme when it comes to building your website. What are some of the most memorable brands that you can remember? Now, I've taken a screenshot here of 3 different websites in the shoe industry. Now, the first is going to be Skechers. Skechers' homepage is very detailed with the specific product that they're looking to sell right away. Nike is really focused on a style or a lifestyle when it comes to their brand. As you can see on a website like Zappos, they're really trying to portray a different type of image when it comes to their brand. I hope this visual aid will really help you look at and think of a couple different ways that you can take when it comes to building your brand. Now, looking at all 3 of these brands, did something stand out specifically to you? Is there something that you really like about one of these websites? Now, taking some notes here would probably be helpful to be able to think about what you want to do for the future when it really comes to building a brand that people can get behind, or when it really comes to building a brand that excites you and you think people will be able to connect with. Now, since you've been able to see some of these different businesses and how the different business model can look when it comes to a brand, let's talk about how all of these pieces fit together in the puzzle. Now, as you've gone through this process over all of these modules, you've been able to see some different things and be able to build upon each step as you've gone. Now, I've created a visual aid for you to see how some of these things really fit together. Whether it's your website, your color scheme, your font, your imagery, your customer service, or even your product, they all have a piece in fitting together to be able to make your business and your brand successful. At this time, it might be very helpful for you to go back and consider some of those resources that we talked about in the beginning of this process. Now, where are you at in this process? Have you hit some different barriers that you can't get by? Consider all of the things that you have when it comes to your resources now to be able to move forward before you build your website. Now, we've talked a lot about building your brand and some of the considerations that you need to think about when it comes to building your brand. But now you need to consider some of the resources that you have and how you're going to be able to build your website from here. In the next section, we're going to talk all about how to build your website, some different considerations and thought processes that you need to be able to think of when it comes to building your website. I can't wait to see you on the next section.